Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Michaela Scull. For those of you that are new here, I am a pregnant mom of 3. I'm currently 31 weeks pregnant with my 3rd child. My children are ages 6, 3, and 22 months. This video is all gonna be about how I potty trained my 22-month-old son. His name is Thor and he is 22 months. He'll be 2 in July. He was showing all of the signs of readiness for potty training, so I decided to go ahead and potty train because I am pregnant with our 4th and I've experienced 2 in diapers before and it is just not very fun. So I decided to go ahead and give it a try, and we were able to do it successfully. If you are interested in more of a vlog style video, I have one that I'm going to be posting shortly if it's not up already by the time you see this video. It is about the 3 days that we potty trained. It's just simply me recording every time that he had used the restroom during the daytime and whether or not he had any accidents, so you could get an idea about how far in between every time he used the restroom was, and it's the whole 3-day period put into one video. So if you're interested in that, then you will probably see the link down in the description box. If it is not there, then go ahead and turn on the notification bell when you subscribe to my channel and you will be notified of it shortly when it is posted. But the first thing that I wanted to go over are the signs of readiness for potty training and how I knew that he was ready to potty train. Now, I have potty trained 3 of my own children now so far, and I've also potty trained 2 other children that I nannied for. One of the children was about 2.5 when I started potty training them, and the other child actually was more of like an elimination communication style. If you've never heard of that, it's when you don't use diapers, you just basically it's almost like you're infinitely potty training until they are able to do it themselves. You're helping them along with the process and you look for their cues to know whether or not they need to go to the bathroom. But potty training is definitely something that daunts most people, and I think that a lot of people think that there's just going to be an endless amount of accidents. They don't want to be cleaning poop and pee up off the floor for days and days and days on end, or even weeks if you think about it. I'm here to let you know that it does not have to be looked at that way at all. In my experience potty training, it has never been an endless week-long process where there's just accident after accident for days and days and days on end. That has never been the case for any of the children that I have potty trained, and I strongly believe that if your child is ready, then it can happen within 3 days. When you're looking for signs of readiness, typically you see children anywhere between 18 months all the way up until the age of 3 being potty trained. I think that that's kind of like a general good age range that parents start kind of thinking about it. 18 months is kind of the earlier range that some parents will think about it. If you are looking at your child and you start seeing them going further in between their diaper changes, that is a very good sign that they are starting to have better bladder control, which is something that you really want to look for when you start to potty train. I do not look for this at nighttime just because I personally really like to keep my children in their crib for as long as I can, and me not potty training them at nighttime is perfectly okay. And I typically don't potty train them at nighttime until they are in a toddler bed. You want to see at least a 2-hour period in between potty changes. You want to see if they are showing you cues throughout the day when they need to use the restroom. Now, you see some children that they will go to a certain spot in the house when they need to poop, or some children even do it when they need to pee, or they kind of have. And this will help a lot with potty training so that you are aware of when your child may need to use the restroom, because at first they won't know themselves necessarily. So it might just happen all of a sudden where they need to use the restroom. There is just really not a lot that goes into the readiness signs. I think it's just as long as they have good enough bladder control and they are going further in between their diaper changes and they are able to kind of, sometimes it doesn't have to be verbally because there are children out there who have just issues with speaking, but if you see cues when they're about to go to the bathroom where they realize it themselves, like they kind of do something, it could be really anything. It's different for every child, where you know as a parent that that means that they need to use the bathroom or that they're going to the bathroom at that moment, then those are good signs to go off of. Now, the second main thing that I wanted to touch up on is when I potty train, I do not use pull-ups, I do not use the super thick padded underwear, and I don't use diapers or underwear. I like to just keep them naked. You could keep a shirt on them, and if it's a little bit cooler, then keep a long sleeve shirt on them. Give them a blanket when they're hanging out in the living room, you know, so that they could just kind of relax with it. But otherwise, I don't put any bottoms on them whatsoever. I don't like pull-ups because I think it makes the child think that they're in a diaper still, and they kind of confuse it a little bit and they end up peeing in it anyways. But same thing with underwear. It just kind of maybe a little bit too close to them, and they sometimes think that they're wearing a diaper if they start wearing underwear before that they're ready after you start potty training them, and it could cause a lot of accidents to happen. The least amount of accidents to happen are, I feel like, when they are completely naked, because they are able to feel the air on them and they're more aware of their body at that point. Now, this might make people feel uncomfortable. They don't want their baby running around butt naked. They feel like they're gonna end up peeing everywhere, and they're gonna end up pooping on the couch or something, or it's just gonna be a huge disgusting mess. But in my experience with all the children that I have potty trained, it is literally the best way to go around doing it, because if you have something on them that kind of makes them feel like a diaper, or just makes them feel not as aware of the fact that like they're just hanging it all out, you know, then I think it just makes them pee. Like they just end up having accidents constantly, and I think it kind of stalls the process. And then yes, you will have a big mess for a week or more of trying to potty train, where it's just a bunch of accidents. Now, if your child is completely naked and they're having accidents for more than, I would say, 2 days in a row, where they are hardly using the bathroom at all, then I would say just don't do it. You can put them back in a diaper and wait just a little bit longer, because then they're just not ready, which totally happens. Like, I tried potty training my oldest son before he hit the age of 2, and he was just having too many accidents. So it was just too much going on for him, and it was just an accident after accident after accident, and he wasn't really getting the hang of it. At the time, I didn't do the naked method though. I had him in like training underwear with the padding in it, and it was just an endless several days of accidents where we finally threw in the towel. We waited, I tried again, and then I tried it doing the naked method, and he did completely perfect. After a day, he was like good to go. So I really want to just let you guys know that if you're just worried about it because of you don't want to be cleaning like poop and pee off of everything all day long, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I promise you, as long as they are showing like the cues that they are ready and you keep them naked, then those accidents won't happen more than a few times. Like, it won't be that bad. It won't be anything worse than a newborn stage when they end up freaking pooping on everything, you know, like when you have explosions up their back constantly throughout the day. It's definitely not worse than that to potty train a toddler, I promise you. So if your child has all the signs of readiness that you see, and you decide to finally potty train and you do the method where you keep them naked, then I feel like it'll be a lot easier. Now, once they actually get to this point and you decide, I'm gonna potty train today, you are going to need to get yourself a toddler toilet. Some people skip the toddler toilet and they get the toilet seats that you can put on like the big toilet and like a step stool and stuff. But I don't like doing that because it's not easily available for them when they're inside of their play space. You want to have something where mentally they are able to like see where they need to go to the bathroom the whole time that they're playing, because toddlers just get busy and they don't necessarily think about that kind of thing until it's like right about to happen, and then you don't want to be running across the house to get them to the toilet when that's happening, because you could potentially have a lot more accidents doing that as well. So I say wait for the toddler toilet until you are comfortable for your child to be able to go into the bathroom by themselves to use the bathroom. So typically that's more closer to the age of like 2.5 or 3 years old that they might be mature enough to go into the restroom by themselves, use the bathroom, wash their hands, and be done. So until then, I think it's perfectly fine to keep a toddler toilet inside of your play space, whether that's in the living room or inside of a playroom or anything like that. And it also is a good idea to get the toilet a little bit of time before you start potty training to kind of introduce it to them, because you want them to realize that it's not like a scary thing, and you don't want them to be intimidated by it. So a lot of moms will put the toddler toilet in the bathroom at first. Start putting them on the toilet when you're using the toilet. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to be naked or anything. They could be in their diaper, whatever, but just put them across from you and have them sit down on their little toddler toilet while you use like the restroom. A lot of parents will do rewards when their child uses the restroom to encourage them to sit down. If your child is scared of the toilet, but you strongly believe that they are ready to be potty trained, I think it is perfectly okay to offer them an incentive to sit down besides like encouragement, you know, like, but do not make it a habit. Now with Thor, he was a little intimidated to use his potty the first time. He was kind of scared about it. So he had maybe like 2 accidents before he finally decided to sit on the toilet. But once he actually did it, I gave him a lollipop. And that was what we did. I never had to give them to him again after that. He even kept asking for them after that, like expecting it, but I just didn't give it to him. I just felt like he just needed it that like one time so that he felt really encouraged and happy and excited about what he did and not like scared, so that he was like looking forward to doing it more in the future. Totally okay. You don't have to do candy or lollipops or anything like that. Mine was just like a natural lollipop that I found at Trader Joe's that I used. But you could use stickers, cool coloring books with, I don't know, like a mini set of crayons or something. I don't know, give them something fun, like a big crayon or something random. Just something that like kind of makes them want to sit down. I've seen parents give their kid like a tablet on the toilet before. I don't have good experiences with that because I feel like it kind of distracts them and then they end up just wanting to sit down on the little potty for like 30 minutes on their tablet. And I like to reserve the toilet for when they actually do need to use the toilet. So you want to make sure that they're having the sign that they need to go to the bathroom before they are sitting down, is how I view it. Now, I have done the whole set the timer for every 15-minute type of thing, and I just don't like that because I feel like it kind of makes the kid resent wanting to sit down after a while. They kind of get sick of it. Like, they don't want to sit down on the toilet every 15 minutes to see if they need to use the restroom. Like, we don't want to do that either. It takes time. Like, you don't want to have to be sitting there next to your kid for, you know, all day long and looking at this timer on your phone or on your watch or something, and then just over and over and over again. Like, I tried doing it once, and my kid really, he was like resenting using the bathroom just because he didn't want to sit on it like all the time when he didn't even need to go. So that comes back to having good bladder control. You want to take into consideration how long your child can hold their pee and how much fluid they're taking in during the day. And I think that for when you first start potty training, I would say go about an hour. Like, you might have some accidents at first, but if they are ready to potty train after they have those like 1 or 2 accidents, they should totally be ready to at least go about an hour in between using the restroom. And I think that it really makes them resent using it less because they're actually using it when they need to go. So they could probably get a little bit of pee out after an hour, and then they feel like it's actually like useful to use the bathroom, and it's not just like this big joke where they have to sit down like every 15 minutes and they find it like annoying or something. They think that like the whole reason that they need to sit down is because they need to use the restroom, not just because the timer goes off. So I really think you just kind of have to base it off of how long your child could hold their pee, and you want to get to it a little bit before that. So if you kind of think that sometimes they need to use the restroom anywhere between like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours or something, then maybe try sitting them down after an hour to use the restroom and just taking it by that. Now, after so long of doing that, you don't really need to like do it yourself, and you could wait until they're showing signs before you sit them down, and it might be several hours until that happens. But you really need to trust the process, because you don't want your child only sitting down to use the restroom when you have them sit down to use the restroom. You want them to be independent at it. So eventually you do need to start just waiting until they have cues to use the restroom, and that they realize it themselves so that they know when they need to use the restroom, because that's a really important part about potty training. So eventually when you are in public, and that is a very daunting thing to think about sometimes, going into public for the first time when you are potty training, because you're worried that they're going to have an accident when you're out. But that's why it's really important to establish your child being able to communicate with themselves basically when they need to use the restroom. That way, when you are out in public, you aren't playing a guessing game about how long you need until like you need to take your kid to the bathroom, and then by then it might be too late and they might end up peeing on the way to the restroom or something. Just you want to make sure that your child is able to recognize it themselves. That way they are able to tell you when you are out somewhere if they need to use the restroom, and then you could make it real fast to the bathroom. I do like taking the little potty with me places. It's just, I think it's really easy and convenient, especially with COVID for a long time. A lot of gas stations, restrooms, places just didn't have any restrooms open, in California at least. Like, there was nowhere to take my kids to the bathroom. So we kept a kid's potty in the trunk, and you could put a diaper kind of inside of it to catch stuff. And then whenever you think that they need to use the restroom and they can't like wait until you find a restroom, you could definitely just pull over and have your kid use the restroom inside the trunk. Like, it totally works, and it prevents them from peeing inside their seat. You aren't supposed to put like towels or diapers in between your kid and the seat and stuff like that, just because it's not safe. So I know that it seems like really easy and convenient to do that, but definitely stay away from doing that, because it's not like a safe practice for car seat safety to do that. But once you have that established time period where you know your child does need to use the restroom around the same time every day, where it's like they need to sit down after like an hour and a half or whatever, it's a good place to start at. So you could start watching your child over the next few days, try to figure out if you realize the cues of when they're going pee or when they're about to go poop, and kind of just write it down and realize throughout the day how long your child is going in between those time periods, and it'll really help you when you are potty training, so that you know when to have them sit down or when to sit them down on the toilet when you are potty training them, because you want to do it just a little bit before that like repetitive time period every single time. That will really help with potty training with not having accidents, and it'll make it so you don't have to set that like ridiculous every 15-minute timer too. And especially for moms of like multiple kids, or moms that are just busy, you know, you can't necessarily always sit down with your kid inside the living room for several days in a row. Like there's stuff that you just have to get done inside the house sometimes, so it makes it less stressful and resentful for the parent, I think, too, to just go a little bit further with the potty training during the day with the time period. So I think that that's something really important to look at. Now that you know your child is ready, keep your child naked, and you kind of have a general idea of when you want to be sitting them down during the daytime to use the restroom, like how far apart you think that they're willing to be able to go. The next thing that I wanted to mention is to have towels or cleaner nearby, of course, where it's not accessible to your baby or your child, but so that you could always clean up messes fast, because no one wants to be sitting there forever to be cleaning up a bunch of messes of pee or poop during the daytime. If they end up having an accident, it makes it a lot easier to just kind of streamline the process. You also want to try to keep the floors in your playroom clean. So this is a difficult one for me because my kids absolutely love to dump out all their toys, and they do it all day long, and they have their playroom in the living room. So we do have like a sectional area rug, and they just go ham and they dump out toys all day long. So I really had to be on top of it. I think honestly was the hardest part about like the first day of potty training, was just keeping all the toys off of the floor. So as soon as they were done playing with it, we put it away, and it did keep my living room looking really nice for a few days. But you really have to make sure you do that so that if there is an accident, it is much easier to clean. Like you don't want them peeing on an area where it ends up puddling into a bunch of toys, or just, yeah, that would suck. So you don't want to end up having to like sterilize a bunch of toys from like pee and stuff. So just think about that ahead of time. The night before you're ready to potty train, make sure it's just very clean. You could even take some toys away just for that first few days or whatever. Like if you have wooden toys that you don't want to get pee on them or whatever, or anything, you could kind of just put it to the side, put it in a closet or something, just so that it is a lot easier to keep the mess contained when they are going to the bathroom in the living room. Now, if you are this far into the video, congratulations, because I know that it was a lot of really jumbled thoughts together about kind of the basic ideas of how your child is ready to be potty trained, and then a bunch of like basic tips on potty training during the daytime. But I feel like one really important thing that also needs to be heard during this video is potty training during the nighttime. So a lot of parents think that like they absolutely need to potty train their kid during nighttime. like as soon as they start potty training. And in my experience, their development of their bladder is just not ready for that ideally yet. Like, you sometimes need to wait until they're a little bit closer to the age of 3. Some kids even closer to the age of 4, they wet the bed. And I think that it's perfectly okay to keep diapers or like pull-ups or anything on your kid during that time period, because their bladder development is a lot different at nighttime than it is during the day. Some children will have wetting problems at nighttime for a long time, and that has nothing to do with their bladder control, but actually hormones that they produce inside of them. There are certain hormones that will make it so that they produce more pee at nighttime than during the day, and so it actually causes a lot of more accidents to happen. Also, if your child is still in a crib, don't feel pressured to put them inside of a toddler bed just because you want to potty train them. It has always worked out where if I potty train during the daytime, it is not hard once they are ready to potty train them at nighttime. Yes, it does take more determination to potty train at nighttime. I'm gonna kind of touch into it a little bit now that it's the end of this video. But it is not something that I have done yet with my 22-month-old, and it is not something that we are planning to do until the future, but I do have experience with it already with my other children, so I just wanted to kind of mention it at the end of this video, that if your child is ready to be potty trained at nighttime, now again, this kind of goes to the same kind of signs as during the daytime, except for you want to see a lot more independence. So your child needs to be able to pull up and down their pants by themselves or their underwear by themselves. They need to be able to wipe themselves. And they also, that's of course if you have a girl, and normally kids don't need to poop at nighttime in my experience. It's just they always end up needing to pee. So if you have a girl, make sure they're able to wipe themselves. Make sure that they are inside of a toddler bed or like a floor mattress or something where they are easily able to access a toilet. Now, I keep the toilet inside the room when I potty train at nighttime, and you will kind of see that they are getting drier and drier at nighttime. Sometimes you don't even see it where they get drier and drier at nighttime, especially if your child is drinking water before bed, or if they are drinking water inside their bed, you aren't going to see that sign of readiness. Don't expect to see that sign of readiness, and you might also experience a lot of difficulty potty training at nighttime. When I potty train my kids at nighttime, it kind of sucks because I don't like doing this, but I take away any drinks immediately before bedtime. So like they can have their last drink with dinner, and then I don't do any more drinks after that. Don't give them milk. Don't give them like any water right before bed. And definitely don't give them a cup inside their bed with fluid inside of it. And it'll make it a lot easier. Now, after they have already established being able to go to the restroom at nighttime, some children still just can't hold their pee good enough to be able to have fluids at nighttime. Like my oldest son, I can't give him anything immediately before bed just because he doesn't have like a full-on accident, but he'll like leak, and it's just a little bit, but it'll just always make everything just stink. So we don't do fluid before bedtime for him, and to make it fair, we don't give fluid at bedtime for my daughter. And when I potty train Thor for nighttime, we won't be giving fluid right before bed or in bed as well. Right now he does have water inside of his crib when he goes to sleep, and that's perfectly okay. But I would suggest weaning that nighttime water like ahead of time, just so that it's not like a sudden change and then they like resent having to not use the toilet or not use a diaper at nighttime, basically. You also, at this point, they have been potty trained and you introduced underwear to them. Now, I forgot to mention this part. Once your child has potty trained for that 3 days naked, introduce some underwear and have them pick it out themselves. So you want them to have like super cool underwear. Like, go ahead and spend that like $15 on those like fancy like Disney character underwear or whatever at Walmart, and you're gonna want to get a lot of it, just because in my experience kids underwear just, I don't know, it ends up everywhere and it gets lost, and like you go through a lot of it and then you end up running out of underwear really quickly. So let them pick out more underwear when you're potty training them at nighttime so that they feel cool about it, and it makes them also a little bit more excited about it. You keep the toilet inside the room with them, no liquids before bedtime, and the first few nights it is very daunting because I always go in there a few times a night and it doesn't matter if they're asleep. If they're asleep, I literally pick them up while they're sleeping and I put them on the toilet and they will go pee. Like, I haven't had an issue with it. They're like half awake where they're like kind of slouched over, like rubbing their eyes and stuff when they're doing it. But they go pee, no problem. Pull up their underwear, put them back in bed. Not a big deal. And eventually, after I have done that enough, they start doing it themselves if they need to go pee. Now, for the first like initial few months, you will keep that potty inside the room with them just so that they have access to it. Some kids need it even longer than that, until they're like a little over the age of 3 and they're just not ready to hold their bladder all night yet, so they need to have access to the restroom, and that's perfectly okay. Keep that restroom inside of their room as long as they need it. So it's really important because you want to make sure that they have access to it at all times. Keep some toilet paper in there for them, or wipes, or whatever you want to do, just so that they're able to wipe themselves. After a few days though, they do it themselves. Like, it has always been my experience that after a few nights of you doing it for them, they start doing it themselves at nighttime. And then finally, once they have kind of weaned off of that toilet, you could just take the toilet out of the room, and at that point they are probably ready to graduate from that toilet. And if they need to use the restroom in the middle of the night, then they are able to get up by themselves and use the restroom in the middle of the night, no problem, and then they get back into bed. So that point is when they're a lot more matured. It definitely goes back to maturity again. I always have a baby monitor so that I can see when my kids get out of bed, especially because Thor is in there. I have the baby monitor on them, and that you have like some sort of a nightlight. We have the hatch nest inside of their room, which makes it so that they are able to see the toilet when they're using the restroom in the middle of the night. But if they're not using the restroom inside their room, you want to have a nightlight inside of the bathroom with them. Now my oldest, he just turns on the light when he uses the restroom. And Esme, she doesn't use the restroom until she wakes up during the day. So Christopher doesn't hold it all night. He gets up sometimes once throughout the night, sometimes not at all, and he'll use the restroom though, and she doesn't. So I think it kind of depends on the child, but if they are younger though, when they're using the restroom in the middle of the night, I would definitely just have like a nightlight in there and make sure that you have a way to see them when they are getting up to go to the bathroom. Typically when my son gets up to use the restroom, I get out of bed and I walk over to the bathroom just to make sure he's good, you know, he went to the bathroom. I like say goodnight to him and he walks back into his room and I close the door for him. I think it's just a really reassuring thing to do. But I think those are all of my main tips. I'm sorry that this was such a long video. It's just, there is just so much going into potty training, but at the same time there's not a lot that goes into it at all. So again, your main things that you just want to look into are your signs of readiness, and keep them freaking naked. Buy them some cool fancy underwear after they have spent that 3 days where you feel like they're good and they could go out into the public and that they're ready for the world and everything. But otherwise, they will probably only have maybe like 2 or 3 accidents the first day, and then after that it should be easy sailing. And then if not, you could always just try again within like a few months. But I hope you liked this video. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you like seeing videos like this. I also do other mommy lifestyle videos. I do a lot of vlogs. And go ahead and look for that vlog as well about potty training Thor, and you'll see the whole 3 days with the times and everything that I potty trained him. I put them inside the video itself, and I also put inside the description box the times that he went to the bathroom and had any accidents and everything like that. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and look at that. Make sure that you have your bell on for seeing when new videos pop up so that you're able to watch them right away. I do have a lot of videos that I post frequently, so you may get a little behind if you don't have that little bell up. So go ahead and do that, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.